Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to our Supervision series, or Small Business Owner series. Same attributes, same issues, same opportunities. Whether I'm a supervisor managing a small work group, or I'm a business owner managing a small teams that report to me directly. Sometimes I'm a supervisor, but also the owner, president of the company, but then a little different than a corporation where we have different levels. Just as a quick reminder for those who sometimes this may be the first YouTube you're watching that I'm presenting on this subject matter. Okay, but today we're going to be talking, and this is going to be Chapter 12 or Series 12 if you're taking me on a workshop or if you're taking me on an online class at a community college that I basically teach. So we're going to be talking about problems, employee problems, and counseling. Like any family, as a first-line supervisor, you are the head of the family, either by default or because of your expertise or by an organizational decree saying, George, you are the supervisor of this team, or you're the owner and you have to hire individuals. But you try to select them. So you select the best employees that you think at that time, or sometimes these are the employees that were there when you took over the department, or if you brought out a store. You bought an existing store, and instead of starting from scratch, you already have the workforce that understands the product line, but now it's under new management. So we're going to be talking about problems acquiring special attention. You don't go after every problem, just like in a family. You don't want to be a micromanager. But when you see that the problem's escalating, that's when you have to get involved within the problem and try to diffuse it. Because words do hurt more than something heals. It says, sticks and stones break my bones. Words never hurt me. That's a fallacy. Words a lot of times will hurt the spirit and the soul. And if that hurts the spirit and the soul, then you have an employee that's not at his or hers the game, for lack of better words, or his performance. He's doing all right, but he's never excelling or giving that extra mile, because maybe he has some self-doubt, whatever. So remember, when you're doing supervision, a lot of times, a lot of first-line supervisors or even middle manager, why do I have to take psychology classes? Because human nature psychology. I'm not saying that's the right way. It's just another set of tools that you as a supervisor could think when we talk about reinforcements. Last time we talked about communication. We talk about different individuals, how they feel about certain things. So that's part of the whole process. And if you're a good team manager, they respect you. You know how to do constructive criticism. You try not to get it out of hand. But sometimes just something's going to happen. The employees, and it's usually not with you, maybe with another coworker. They have different values or they have different ways of looking at things, and it becomes to some kind of a disruptive behavior that affects the whole team, especially in a small team. So as a first-line supervisor, they're like in a family member, your mother and the head of the family, or your father, the head of the family, or your joint heads for like your partnership in business. You still have to be able to address the issue, and you have to address the issue that will be fair, an issue that could stand up in court. So a lot of times I'll say you should go online if you're a small business, or a lot of companies, they have some procedures on how to handle certain disciplinary issues. Whether in the union is very written out, because I used to work for ComEd and IBEW, Electrical Union as a member. So I understand here's the rules. I violated this rule. Here's the consequences. A lot of small businesses don't have that. So sometimes they could appeal to the court saying you want their wages, I was discriminated. Well, but there's as a small business, the judge looks a lot differently than a larger corporation, what you consider 50 employees or more. So, but you still should have something. You take your law. Some individuals may want to take legal action against you, for lack of a better word. So you have the procedures, and usually what it is, first, just like family, you do something wrong, you give them a warning. Hey, that's not the right behavior. Second time to do it, another warning. Then third time, or whatever. The second time I give them a written warning. I put this in your file. I told you I want this behavior to stop. Third time we say you're going to get some time off, and when I get time off, or I'm going to demote you, whatever it is. But you have to have some kind of policy. Or if you did something that, let's say, sexual harassment or discrimination against a customer or an employee or a team member, and those may be things that will take the next level up and say there'll be termination or stealing from your organization. I'm a small company, so those are procedures you should have. But some individuals, sometimes you may have somebody that has family problems, they may have a drinking problem, or may have an addiction. You don't get addicted right away. You try something, and after a while, you can't stop. So, but they're still a good employee. They're functional. So do I intervene? Those are questions you got to ask. Or, and they're fiction, and they say, I'm sorry, I don't know how to do it. I need some help. How much help do you provide? You could do basic counseling. I'm not a psychologist. That's not my background in psychiatry. My background is basically business and management and marketing and national business. So I would turn that over to a professional. And sometimes there's agencies or some insurance that you may have. Even now, when you look at the Affordable Care Act, there's provisions that, as an employer, I may add some supplemental or maybe even part of that. All right, so that means they may get some counseling on that. And then I'll give them a chance. I say, okay, I caught you on drinking or did whatever. And then I'm going to give you a chance to, for lack of better words, to get the counseling and, with some counseling and make sure that you're staying sober or off the drugs or whatever, and so there'll be some kind of follow-up and spontaneous testing, and then you'll still work. I kind of want to keep you, and the employee works out. In a lot of cases, that works out well. In some cases, if you violate that, then it's termination release. I give them a break. I did everything else, because what research and everything else finds, the person who's on drugs or has alcoholic or is a heavy drinker and drinks at work. Basically, he's bringing that. I'm not saying what he's doing at home. He's bringing that. He brings that to the workplace. Those are the individuals who usually don't get hurt, but their co-workers are the ones who suffer. Something happens, or they're moody, they have a temper or something else, and it could erupt in some kind of violent behavior. So let's look at some of the problems. Okay, so if you're taking me for an online class, you're already reading the materials. You have my concept maps that I always give out to everybody, okay? So here's some questions you said. To uncover the true, let me just go this way. And I'll just make this a little big with the arrow here, okay? It's easier to see. I don't have to go back and forth. Uncover true source of performance problems. A lot of times I have an employee that works well, and all of a sudden his performance starts dropping. So is there an emotional issue to something at home? His wife left him, or a partner left her, or whatever, you know what I mean? Or the children's sick, or something's bothering him. Has performed better in the past, has received proper training, know and understand what they are to accomplish. So it's not a brand new employee. They've already been with me for several years. Something's happening to them, and something I can't see, something that's either emotional or something's happening at home. Provide enough feedback and support, encourage and reward high performance. I'm doing all these things. And employees with similar abilities are performing well. So this doesn't change. I didn't change the process as a supervisor, and no one else has experienced any kind of similar difficulty. So now I could tell there's something to that one individual. Other issues that could be, that I could see the person has tardiness. Cost and average $645 per employee in 2003. Probably about now with inflation and everything else. But I think about $800. Most common reason: personal illness and family. So that's something so a person's stressed out. So that's also going to lead to a medical issue. So I may want to assist them. This way, if you assist them in their bad times and they're good employees, a lot of times if a competitor comes, they're going to say, you know what, George took care of me when things weren't going right for me. He didn't abandon me. He said, this other one's a bigger corporation, so I get $1 more, but I'm giving up that trust that I have with George. I'm just another cog in the peg, for lack of better words. Okay? And so what they basically did when you're looking at, you reduce by initiate paid time off banks. So you have like PPO days. A lot of companies, whatever they call it, personal paid time off. That includes your sick days and your vacation. Let's say if a person is very healthy and never takes sick, and I've been, for whatever reason, maybe I've taken more sick days, maybe take my allowance, my requires my max sick days at 3 days, and this person didn't get anything. He wasn't sick as well, and I give him a certificate, and sometimes when I work, maybe some kind of trophy at $10. He goes, hey man, that guy just got $1,000 for 3 days off. It's not only 3 days because it's 3 incidents, so there's so many. So that's where the PPO days, it finds that balance between An individual said, I'm not, we all get sick, but you utilize. So the individual has the 3 6 days or six days, whatever you have, part of his personal day. So you use it for vacation, whatever. But if he doesn't have it at the end, then it's no paid, non-paid time off. But a lot of times if you're in construction or you're doing some kind of work where the individual has to have the physical ability, then basically they will carry some kind of insurance in case they get sick. So it's like I get injured on a job or I'm sick, and then I get my wages and everything else. Okay? Now counseling. When I look at counseling, I'm not the best personal counselor, like I said. I try to learn about the person, an individual's personal problems, help the employee solve it. Sometimes you get the problems from a secondary source, a truth source, through the grapevine. This happened, George, and someone I can play, hey, anything's going on, or I could say, this happened, and sometimes I could, I've been around for a while, so a lot of things happen to me. I could always say, I remember when this happened, and now they'll know that I walked in those steps. Or somebody else says, hey, what's bothering George? That's his friend, and he may tell me directly, well, this happened. Don't tell anybody. So I don't approach an employee until he comes to you, but you got to be approachable, so you're in there. So you can't be approachable if you're a jerk the whole time, and all of a sudden the employee's having issues. Now you want to be his friend or her friend. So you have to be the type of manager that's fair. I'm not telling you that he has to be your friend. You're not my buddy. I respect you. You're your employee. I ask something about your personal life. I don't want to in depth all your personal life. Just, hey, I heard your kid got that. Hey, congratulations. Tell your son congratulations. He won. He was an A student or wants some scholarship. Here's $10 from an organization or something like that. You could do with a small business. Even as a supervisor, I could give him something. Take a half a day off, and the family could go to a park or whatever. You achieve something. So, but you can't. This way, they're a little bit more open to you. When you need to talk to them. Okay, counseling techniques and directive counseling, non-directive, and counseling interview. A lot of times I'm not into the counseling, so as a small supervisor, use it by thing. You could go right to them and start talking to them, or you could send them out. Non-direct, you talk to somebody else around there. And a counseling interview, procedure. I'm not going to go into this. You got the handout, discuss the problems, considerations, solution. If this has something to do with performance, that's a different issue. If this is just personally still performing well, I just keep an eye on him or her. Because some people could just come to work to take their mind off of that. But a lot of times it's hard when you have something that's critically. You get the bill collectors or somebody after you, or you have an abusive husband or a stalker. You can't think straight, even though you try to. You come to work ready for safety, but you always look at it. By looking at it, and you're not focusing in. You're working on machinery or something else. You may be making errors, or something could happen that individual try to retaliate on that employee will hurt the other co-workers that have nothing to do with the situation. So you as a manager, you have some I don't say it's liability. Well, I could kind of say it's liability, but you have some responsibility, not liability, responsibility, because you can't really secure everything. Even in prison, look, in the army has issues with somebody going out of the norm, for lack of better words. So you have a responsibility to minimize the risk as much as you possibly can. And if you do have a problem with stalker, that's something as a supervisor or owner, you should let the local police department know. Hey, we've got this issue. Here's the car. Can you kind of swing around the parking lot a little bit more than you do? They don't mind doing that. They don't like coming around because it freaks out people. But if you ask them as a manager, they'll just make their passes. And sometimes people see, at different times, so someone's stalking, you're going to feel uncomfortable and they'll find out a situation. But you still have to be able to help that lady through counseling or guide her or him. Stalking can not only for women. There's a lot of women that are stalking men in reverse. I mean, so society and the culture and what's acceptable and what's going on is changing. So I'm not saying right or wrong. Who am I to judge? But what I'm basically saying is that as a supervisor or a business owner, you have to be aware of the culture in general, and then basically your local culture for the normal of your employees, where they're coming from, what's going on in their external environment. I'm not spying on them, but you could get a good thing with the news and everything else, okay? And then let's say, so now we're going to go into discipline. They finally did. They went through the processes. Now I got to take some action. And to prevent an employee from breaking the rules and showing other employees, so far these are rules unacceptable. Especially if you have some rules of somebody being abusive or someone that's making sexual advances. I got a policy on that. No tolerance policy. So you have to be, with the employees or the customers or whatever. Remember, I'm not telling you that's your belief system, but here at work, this is what I can't change people's beliefs and value. We're still in the United States, but I could say when you're working for me in this establishment, here are the procedures. I don't discriminate. I don't do anything. I have a zero tolerance. I see that, and that could be disciplinary. One time, or usually zero tolerance means the minute time you mess up, you get fired. But you have to look at the situation and everything else. You have to keep an open mind. So he kind of says, I have, here's my policy from, I would leave it at zero tolerance. Leave it like that, because then when you have to work in a gray area, you could take the situations under consideration then, okay? At this level, or then you just bring it up to your middle management if you're in a larger corporation. Okay, and then the employee's rights through the process. The employee has certain rights. It has to know his job expectation, has to receive consistent, predictable management action in response to the rule violation. You can't just have him always come late, and one day you give him 2 days off and say, hey, wait, I've been coming late for the last 3 months. No, you never said nothing. I walked right past you a lot of times. You say, hey, traffic terrible. This is good. So I figured that was okay if I'm a few minutes late. It wasn't a big deal. I stayed a few minutes later. You never said about that. I thought we just made it even. You see what I mean? So if you're going to do one or the other, make sure you say, hey, we got to be here. Customers are complaining. Here's how you bring it. Customers are complaining that they call at 8 o'clock. There's no one to pick up the phone in the reception. I want somebody here 15 minutes to it. I'll pay that 50. Your time will start, instead of 8 o'clock, you'll start at 7:45, instead of ending at 3:30 or whatever, and at 3:15. And then I'll have the next schedule around for the other person. A lot of times you give some flexibility. You have 2 people covering the phone, or somebody else that backs up if you have a smaller office or a smaller team. When that person goes to lunch, the other person goes to lunch, he or she backs them up. Okay? Receive fair discipline. That means they can bring somebody else in there, know the rules, you get your first warning and everything else. The whole thing is you don't want to trick anybody on there. We're a land of the laws, for lack of better words. Let's make sure we give the employees the same fair due process, okay? And in the process, give them a warning first, give them a suspension next time. Usually right in here is a warning. It could be a verbal. I would go like this. If I would go in here, warning, the first one would be a verbal, okay? And then when I go down to the next one, I would say this one would be number 2, okay? Does that make sense? Would be a written, okay? So now when I have these 2, I'm set on that, okay? I think there's 2 T's, yeah. Oh well, we get spoiled. With technology, you forget how to add, and forget to write. It didn't look right. That caught me right away. Okay, so warning, you have, you're human, come on. Warning, you give a verbal first, but after the verbal, you keep it in your mind. You don't have to do that. You go back. I told George this, called him at the coffee shop. Later was supposed to stop here or did an unauthorized turn or whatever. So I write that down in my own notes. The next time I see him, I come to him again. Now it's a written warning. I sit him down. I said, look, last time, remember, I think it was last day, and there I gave you a verbal. Nothing happened. After 30 days, I throw away. Don't keep it for 6 years. I toss it, and then and you did it again. So I'll give you a written warning. It's going into your file. The next time that happens, you're going to have a suspension. So now, and after the suspension, if it happens again, then you go to demotion. And if you don't place a demotion, you just go basically to dismissal. So, and it's not on fire I'll give you a letter, you're no longer, because it's something that you're doing that you're not behaving to the rule. But make sure which rules you want to do. They can have a lot of employees that are going to break little rules. It's going to drive you nuts because nothing big. So then you bring them in or talk to them about total records, because it's basically the whole personality. You steal this, you do this, you don't clean up this. You do all these little things that basically cost me money when I add them all up. Okay? So I would just tell, again, be respectful to the individual. And even when I give discipline, most managers do not like discipline. It's not like I enjoy doing that. But I have to do it because they keep the process in line. And so other individuals are in that role so they know what's going on. Okay, so the discipline's in there, but when I do discipline them, as long as I'm fair and tell them exactly what's going on, they understand it. They say, okay, yeah, I did this. We understand why you did this. You gave me more than enough rules. Man up or woman up to it that you did this and you should be. Here's the consequences. I do a speeding ticket. I say, well, he shows me I know I'm speeding. I didn't always go that fast, but here's the consequences. 25, 5 to 10 miles is this. 5 over to 20 miles maybe traffic court. The other ones you got to go in front of the judge, and so there's different rules. You know the consequences before you do it. Okay, so disciplinary guys, don't wait to act. Focus on learning about and resolving the issue at hand. Why was I too lax with it? Was the rules unclear? Keep emotions in check. And sometimes, just my pet peeve. Listen to the person. There may be some explanation that's out of the ordinary why he or she acted that way. I always give, or I might be reading it wrong, or did I miss something? Make it a private matter between me and you. What do you call it, the individual, or I do that the same thing in the classrooms. There's just some issue going on, I caught you plagiarizing, that's a big one. Let's say you didn't do your test or something else. There's a question. I'll talk to you on the side, and if you say I didn't know that, I'm sorry. We'll make an agreement. No one else knows about it between you and me. I don't treat you any differently anymore. Okay, and then keep a record. Remember, a disciplinary actions taken, and on the basis of the action. And then when you keep a record, you give the same thing to the employee, so he or she has the same thing, why you did it. Okay, now positive discipline. When I look at positive discipline, is designed to prevent problem behavior from beginning, working to create the conditions under which employees are least likely to cause a problem. That's all it is, a supervisor. I'm looking out. I'm like the monitor, just like the police. I just want to pull you over. But it's looking if you're weaving all over, or if, you could be a drunk driver, or you're speeding. You're gonna hurt other people in there. Remember, so if you look at a police officer, I don't like it when I get pulled over. I get a ticket. But when I look at it from his perspective, or some other individuals say, "What a jerk! Look at he's driving." Because sometimes I'm rushing, mad. Not all the time. I'm a comic. I just was talking about being keeping emotions in check, but we're still human. Sometimes something presses those buttons. Let's talk about pressing buttons. When you have an individual that's pressing those buttons, as a manager, keep that in check. Because an employee, I used to manage construction workers, and I was a construction worker at one time. So when an employee presses those buttons, and he knows it gets underneath your skin, just like your kids or your close friends or your loved ones, they know what gets underneath your skins, and they'll always use it to their advantage to get you all riled, and then you look like you're blowing up and they're just a victim. Okay, so what you have to remember, I'm teaching supervisor. What you have to remember, even though it's getting you ready to, you're upset, for lack of a better word, you're steaming, you got to choke that individual, him or her. I'm not saying literally, but you're just, oh my God, what am I doing here? But if you just say, look, that's very inappropriate for this discussion. Take a break. Go back. I'll see you in a half an hour. Think about what you're doing. Bring your stewards or whatever you want to do. But I want you in my office a half an hour. If you're not in my office in half an hour, you're off the paycheck, and I'll have security. Use the situation. You don't have to threaten to make the thing more vital. Give the person time enough to go back, calm down, think what he's doing, and then you call him in the office and say, what the heck's going on out there? And then you talk to him on that thing. By that time, he'll be calmed down. If he's going to be irrational, you got other issues. For most people, once the emotions take over, they're not thinking straight. All the adrenaline, choke somebody. Same with you. Time out. Hey, it's inappropriate. Because other people and employees looking, just go sit down. I got to think about that. And then come see me in half an hour. Give them enough time to cool, or 15 minutes, whatever you think. Or if you have two employees, break them all up, sit down, let them cool off, and later on talk to one or the other. Just go in that room. You go in that room over there. If you got rooms, you sit over there or so. They don't see what the other one's doing. Not making faces. You go to your desk and they're like this. You'll split them up or bring, just have it sit in your office. You come out, have one go in your office, sit down, as long as you don't have anything personal in there, or sit in the waiting area, and the other one you go talk to. Okay, so you had to something to do. Good? Decision-making leave. Give the employee a day off to decide whether to return to work, meet standards. Same thing I'm saying. Here's says a day. Sometimes, it depends on the situation. Sometimes just need a few minutes to cool off. A whole day. Geez, man, I'm losing productivity. But sometimes if they're that mad, or there's two employees, or husband and wife or something, You don't want to send both of them home. They're just going to have problems out there. And I think you have some kind of responsibility on that. You know what I mean? Or if a person's drunk. Let's think if a person's drunk, you can't send them home in that condition because you know he was already intoxicated. They could hurt himself here, and you're going to put him in a vehicle. You have liabilities from responsibility. Say you're drunk, I'll call a taxi, take you home, or I'll drive you, or somebody, or a field supervisor, or one of your coworkers, call your wife, come pick you up. I don't care, or your boyfriend, or your girlfriend, whatever the issue is, someone will pick up the car, but I can't let you drive. And if you say, oh, I want to drive, I said, the minute you walk out here, I'm going to call the police, give you a license plate number on the car, and tell them this employee was intoxicated, and I released him, and we advised him not to drive, and he's heading home. Here's his address. And then you have all different issues, because now I'm no longer responsible. I can't force you. You're an adult. Okay, do you see how you handle the situation? But you always have to make sure you're not that you're covering your butt. You are in a way, but you're looking at what impact he or she, if she is drunk and hits somebody else out there, and you could have prevented that. Okay, counseling, discipline, ineffective. I did all that. Supervisor may have trouble. A troubled employee, he or she's not going to do it. Look for signs for substance abuse, but try to avoid accusations. Instead, focus on job performance. And then here's some of the signs. I mean, when you're looking at, what are they looking at? Slurred speech, clumsy movement, increased accidents, personality changes, decreased ability to work as a team. Smell of alcohol is really easy. Just to have them go for a drop or a testing, because if you smell, and you could tell the difference between. You gotta be careful though. But if you take like with NyQuil or something else, but a lot of times you can tell bourbon or some or wine or beer real easy. You know what I mean? Increased absenteeism, tardiness, along with unbelievable excuses. Aliens capturing. I'm not saying that's gonna happen. But, you know what I mean? Who's to say? Leaving the work area, making frequent visits to the restroom. He could have bladder problems, and I'm thinking he's drinking a lot or something else, whatever, violence in the workplace, okay? So those are some figures to look out for. Now we're almost done. We'll have a few more. Confronting the employees. How do I confront them? First of all, you got to document the problem. Then you confront the employee, review, talk to him, hey, we already talked to you, and don't make it do it in front of all the individuals, unless he's really the action and he's flipping out. In my office right now, they already know, hey, there's nothing, why is George calling the office? Remember when you looked earlier, how do I motivate and everything else, wait till the next day. So he's in my office, he's sitting in there, or she's in there, because sometimes ladies, you also, your behavior sometimes is questionable, for lack of better words. And same thing with gentlemen, no one way or the other. Review the employee's performance. I said, here's what I'm calling you. Your performance is dropping. What's the problem? Oh, nothing's going on. You went from here to top performer, you're to the last one. You're coming in late, you're arguing with everybody. Something's going on. So remember, I'm not just I see it by myself. Who told you that? I'm watching. I'm in my office, or I see that. Let's say he's going on. I've already talked to you a couple of times. Refer the employee to counseling. It doesn't have to go. If you don't go to counseling, then you're going. The next thing is termination, whatever. Explain the consequences of not changing. Okay, aid in recovery. Your employee assistance program. I'm not a professional. There's people out there. Small companies. You have agencies around there that will help you find someone that's a counselor. You work one-on-one as a pro bono, sometimes at lower cost. It's your small business, and they'll take on the clients and they'll work on them, and you tell them I'll pay 60% and the client pays 40%, or whatever. These are good employees. If they're not that good employees, then that's your call. Remember, you're a small business. You're trying to survive. You're not a non-profit for organization, so you're trying to make it things. But so that's a judgment call on you. I do counseling, and basically it's up to the employee. If he's a real good employee, you want to save him or her, then it's not up to me. It's still the owner. Or in the supervisor, you may not have a chance, because if you're in a corporation, here's the procedure. It's really out of your hands. But you may counsel them, say, hey, it's okay, you'll do fine. But there's nothing you could do, because it's at the next level. Recovery from substance abuse, financial, career counseling, referring to child care. Sometimes it's an elderly parent that they're worried, mom and dad, they don't have to take care of them. AIDS, education, counseling, cultural adjustment, and then some of the benefits. You have less absentees, fewer accidents because they're focused on the job, better employee relationships because they're not blowing off, and fewer labor disputes, lower medical costs because problems are caught and treated earlier. Okay? Now the last thing we're going to talk, sources of support, your manager. if I'm a first-line supervisor. If I'm an owner, then you have to go outside. It could be your minister, your imam, your pastor, for lack of better words, your rabbi. You know what I mean. Your spiritual leader or a good friend. You know what I mean. And it could be your doctor, whoever you trust and know that will give you some advice because they either have been through it or you have a good relationship with them. Human resources is a good area to go to. A smaller company it's a little harder because human resources, that individual is not a full-time job, and they already know that they may have 2 or 3 different hats that they wear. Labor attorney, outside human relationships, and local small business administration could basically give you some assistance. Okay, well, that's it, class. If you're looking, we're finished with Chapter 12 or Series 12, Supervision. Employee counseling and discipline. When I was talking to this, usually I'm upbeat because when I was more of a monotone voice, because it is a really serious problem, and I want to be all cheerful, just fire the individual or I'll do this. So it is a serious problem, and when you're talking to the individual, even though I'm more of a happier-go-lucky type of instructor or a supervisor or a manager when I was in the corporate world. But when I'm talking something like that, this is serious. So your tone, your face has to change appropriately. Your nonverbal cues when you're talking about disciplinary problems or some counseling, and basically what are your rights and how to confront an individual. You're not going to be smiling, all giggling, and then you close the door and you turn into Jekyll, huh? You don't make that showing out there, or you make it. I'll see you next time, or I can meet off sites for a small company. We got to talk. We'll meet you at the cafeteria, or meet you up someplace else. Okay? So again, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and this is the Supervision series, and we talked about problem employee and counseling and discipline. And I'll see you for our next series in a couple of days. Thank you.